Welcome back, everyone, to the FloTrack podcast. Happy Friday. I'm Kevin Sully, joined by Gordon Mack, who's in the shadows somewhere. Gordon, when I logged on, I was surprised. Where are you?
I'll reveal where I am.
Okay.
I am in the streets of Philadelphia.
Oh,
In a hotel
wow.
room in Philadelphia. Look at that. Look at that view.
Oh, my
Like it?
goodness.
Here
Wait a
for a
minute.
wedding, but also gonna go to the Eagles game on Sunday. Basically, I'm on a holiday trip. Start off with the wedding in Philly, then go home, and then go to DC, and then
Hold on.
living the large. I just ran the Rocky Steps. I did the whole little dun 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 dun, dun, dun did a little 4-mile run up the steps and back. Good times.
You're from Philadelphia. Why are you staying in a hotel? Doesn't the city open its doors for you?
It does not open its doors for me. No, I'm in the wedding hotel. I'm not gonna go sleep at my parents' house the night before a wedding. Come on.
I don't know. Is that a thing? People don't do that? How dare you sleep in your parents' house the night before a wedding?
No,
it's not required.
You got to be part of the crew. You want to be able to drink at the hotel bar. You don't want to be, hey guys, I got a curfew. No, come on. Come on.
You are perfect for the wedding economy. You're like, I have to stay at the official wedding hotel and I have to drink from the official wedding bar. Otherwise,
I do.
don't get my official wedding certificate at the end. Well, I hope you have a great time. That was a cool shot there. I'm assuming the Sixers are not in town. Otherwise, you'd try to go to their
They
game?
are. They're just coming off of back-to-back losses. They just got screwed over by Kevin Durant. But they're playing New Orleans on Sunday. But I'm going to go to the Eagles game instead. But then I'm going to DC and I'm going to watch the Sixers in DC the day after Christmas.
Oh, okay.
So that's
gotcha.
Okay.
That's
going to be a big one. That's the big Christmas gift for myself that I bought.
Some are calling that an Eastern Conference semifinals preview. Not me, but
some are calling it that. Some, yes. Some are calling it that.
On today's show, we are going to talk about the Diamond League switching the field event format again. We'll talk about Pete Julian's group finding a new name. And then I wanted to do a little bit of best of 2021, talk about the best race of the year, talk about the biggest surprises, biggest breakthroughs, and the best rivalry of the year. And then next week, we'll continue with some awards on Monday. And then Wednesday and Friday, the plan is still to run the interviews. You've done one so far. Is that correct? So we can pretty much promise that this is going to happen?
Yeah, we have at least one interview. Second interview, TBD. We'll make it happen eventually. I can't reveal who it is because I don't want to promise people a person and that person not show up. So. But we'll get somebody. Oh. Yeah, it's not Ben Simmons, unfortunately. Okay. Joel Embiid. I'm hoping Joel Embiid crashes the wedding. Wouldn't that be awesome?
Wouldn't it be amazing if you got Ben Simmons on the podcast and he revealed all this stuff and then we just got aggregated and it was like Ben Simmons told the FloTrack podcast and no one could figure out why he came on a track podcast. There was no rhyme or reason. Like our listeners hated it because half people don't know who he is. And the entire NBA media was so confused as to why he revealed where he wants to play on a track podcast.
I am hoping, amazing, right? When you say that, I am hoping there be like a famous person, whether it's in sports, pop culture, politics, or whatever, who's like really into running. And so they want to come on this podcast and we're like, yeah, let's talk about track. But they also come on the podcast at the same time of some viral moment that everyone wants to know about. And yeah, we break like huge news. Like, we announce like someone's running for president or something like that because they just happen to be like a marathoner. We're like, yeah, all right. Whoa, we got the scoop.
Maybe what you do, you see Ben Simmons in the street, you get your iPhone out, you just like yell one question at him. And he maybe is nice enough and he mumbles a response. But then you market that as my interview with Ben Simmons coming up on Friday. And the podcast is 12 seconds long. That's it. That's all it is. Yeah, all right. Diamond League format. They're going back to if you have the best mark in the competition for field events, you win. Are you a fan of this, Gordon?
Okay, you say that in like 2 sentences, but this thing looks a lot more complicated. Like, look how long it is. Is it? I don't even want to read it because I feel like I shouldn't have to read how track and field events work because, it's been the same ever since. But Is there anything actually different from the typical everyone gets 6 jumps, best jump wins?
Okay, so here, I'll tell you the differences. I wanted to do this briefly, but I will go in depth because I've read the whole thing. Couple changes. One, the best mark is going to go first. They're not going to go last throughout. So they're going to put the best person first, not last for each round. After 5 rounds, the people with the 3 best marks still go to final 3 and they still get one last jump, those final 3. But the best mark overall wins. So if you have the best overall mark from round 1 and that stands up all the way through the competition, you win. You don't need to do it in that final 3 setting. The other thing that they're going to do is for the final round, any live events that are going on, they're going to stop them so that way it gets all the attention, which I think is going to be a kind of tricky logistical challenge, especially if there's any sort of delay. But the best overall
Yeah, there's
mark wins now. It used to be you'd get into the top. You basically, the first 5 rounds were to qualify to the final round, and then they wiped everything out, and then the best mark in the final round won, which is why Yulimar Rojas didn't win the Monaco triple jump, even though she had the best mark at the Monaco triple jump.
and basically they're saying only the final 3 get a 6 jump. So instead of the final 8 or
Right,
whatever. Yeah.
right. Exactly. Exactly. So if you're a purist and you're thinking, okay, everybody should get 6 jumps, you're still probably upset about it. But I think you're happy that sanity prevailed because nobody else really liked the fact that you could have a shorter jump or throw and still win the competition. That
What do you
is
think
what
of this whole,
got me
like,
upset.
stopping the track meet for it? What do you think the idea what are your thoughts on that?
I like it. I think they should do it if they could figure out a way to do it for every single jump or throw, which is almost impossible. It would make it way more interesting because then it's not just this side event that's going on while these people are running, but hey, let's focus our attention on it. You've watched you're actually a really good person to ask this because you're so obsessed with the team scores during NCAA competitions, you're following jump by jump, throw by throw. Oh, this person's in the lead. This is what it means for the team score. This person's in the
Yeah.
drop back. They need to they need 2 centimeters and they'll get the extra points. Now, there's not the team score element for international competition, diamond leagues, but it's just so much more interesting to view it that way than all right. Let's look at the last round. Here's a recap of those 3 jumps. There's no built up drama in it. So if there was a way to where you could show, and I guess the way to do this would just be, you have the second feed or you have the picture in picture, whatever. The more you can show of the entire thing, as opposed to here's just the best person, and we're showing them on tape delay, the better. So I like it. I just wonder how difficult it is going to be to pull off. I guess they have an idea in their head, the timing of like, okay, this is when we'll be on the final 3 in the shot put, and that's 2 minutes before the men's 5K starts. So like, let's do that. Or the women's 400 starts here. We can squeeze in the triple jump final 3 before it goes. The problem is you're getting all the attention on them for the final 3, but that may not be when the winning attempt occurs. The winning attempt could occur anytime, which is why it's fun to watch the entire thing.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's ever gonna be a situation where someone's, like, warm up. I mean, I guess how much of a unexpected pause are you gonna have to worry about? Because say, like, you're ready to run an 800
Mhm.
at 4:04, and all of a sudden you run your 800 at 4:22. Does
Right,
that mess with
right.
you? Because 'Cause you're just standing out there? Maybe what if it's cold outside? You're like, your legs
Yeah.
can tighten up.
I'm guessing the delay is not going to be that long because they're going to have mapped this out of when they'll reach the final 3. Because this is for throws, which is pretty straightforward, and jumps, horizontal jumps. The things that are unpredictable because you don't know when people are going to be in or out are the vault and the high jump. Correct? Because in theory,
Yeah,
those could go on forever. The shot put can't go on forever. I mean, I guess Ryan Krauser could throw the shot so
forever.
far that it never lands, but those events are limited by number of attempts, whereas the pole vault and the high jump aren't. So I think they could map out and have a pretty good idea of when they'll be at final 3. Um, but as I said, I'd like to take it even a step further. Like I like, especially someone like Krauser, perfect example. where he literally could set a world record with every throw. I want to see that live. Like, I want to go and I want them to take that live. Now, the competition itself may not be in doubt, but you're trying to watch history. And when the competition is close, I want to see that live. I want to see the back and forth. I don't want to see a highlight package that's condensed down to two or three jumps. I mean, again, like most people, the main thing I tune into is the running event. It's just the reality of it, right? That takes up a larger portion of the TV time. But everything is better when you can see all of it. And if you're just seeing a snippet, it Welcome back for the second time to the FloTrack podcast. I'm Kevin. He's Gordon. Special shout out to the people on YouTube. We're going to hear the first 15 minutes of the show over again. You're not crazy. We're really going to do this twice. So insert 30 seconds of small talk about Gordon being in Pennsylvania here.
Yeah. So if you're listening to this on Spotify right now or on the website, you're not going to know what I actually talked about for 15 minutes. But now I'm going to re-talk about it. I'm in Philadelphia. I'm in a hotel. Look, see my skyline. It's beautiful. Check it out.
There it is.
Very high up, 37th floor. I'm staying at the W if you guys want to find me. Anyway, wedding tonight. Friend watching them get married. I'm happy they're getting married in Philadelphia. Perfect place. They're not even from Philly. One is from San Antonio, is from New York City, and they're getting married in Philadelphia. Perfect. I think they just chose it for me. So, yeah, that's where I am. And today we're going to talk about Diamond League and other things.
We're talking about the Diamond League field event format going back. We'll talk about Pete Julian naming his group finally, or a name being given to Pete Julian's group finally. And then we'll do some end of year awards. Shout out in the chat to Tom, super chat, also member of Kevin's Kings. Remember, if you want to join, you want to be a member, want to get that exclusive content, badges, gifts, all that fun stuff, click that join button at the bottom of the FloTrack podcast YouTube page or underneath this video as well too. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I see Tom's art. He's got the Kevin graphic in there already. This is awesome. This is amazing. And he may or may not, his super chat may or may not have crashed the feed. So you have those abilities potentially too. If you just don't like something that Gordon's saying, you just boom, hit a button and we have to start all over again. And Colt gets really upset and wishes he never left Manhattan, Kansas.
So Diamond League, new
Mm-hmm.
format, 4 jumps. It's basically the same as all the other normal formats of track and field. No more best jump or throw in the final round wins. It's the best jump or throw over the final 6, over all 6 of throughout all the entire competition. So
Yeah.
we're back to normal. I think the big change here is they're planning on pausing the track meet for the final round of throws, which is a great thing for throws fans, jumps fans, and track and field fans as a whole. Because let's be honest, a big obstacle for watching track and field
Mm-hmm.
is I personally think there's too many events, and people just naturally aren't going to be invested in 8 different sports all at once. It's
Mm-hmm.
just a part of the reality of our sport. And so because of that, we end up getting very segmented. You have people who are diehard sprint fans. Obviously, there's a huge distance running community. There's the throws community, the jumps community. Now there is
Mm-hmm.
people who are super fans and it overlaps and it's like perfect and this is their utopia of track and field. But if we're being honest, there are people who come in, they want to watch the 100, and then when a steeplechase is going on, they're getting up and going to the bathroom. And then there's people
Mm-hmm.
who do the exact opposite. Steeplechase is on. We're watching this. We want to see how fast we go. What's the pace? What's going on? I want to see all of it. And the people who are waiting for Sha'Carri Richardson to run the 200, they're grabbing a cup of
Yeah.
coffee. And I think this is a big issue for people who are big fans of field events because distance fans love to complain, why are you going to commercial during the middle of a 10K, during the middle of 5K?
Yeah.
That's compared to why do you never show our actual event? You would just see
Yeah.
a highlight after the event an hour later. So it's good that we're showing actual live field events and not just replay field events. So should be good.
And an innovation that helped improve this was broadcasters started doing different channels that were dedicated specifically to the event because they figured, hey, it's just impossible to squeeze everything in a main broadcast. So here's your triple jump feed, here's your shot put feed, here's your long jump feed, here's your pole vault feed. Go crazy. But that doesn't exist for every single meet. And for the Diamond League, yeah, they're going to try to pause and have the final 3. Now, for the final 3, again, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to see the winning jump or throw because that could come anywhere in the competition, which is a change here. Before they would say, hey, it's got to be in the final 3, which had a lot of pushback because someone could have a vastly superior mark and then lose. But you're right. People do have their strong preferences in track and field. Famously, Sacramento, the sprints end, they're out of there. That's it. The 10Ks last, there's 12 people in the stands. More than 12, but you get my point. But the thing with field events is field events are just this omnipresent thing that's always going on in track meets. And yeah, even if you're a diehard track fan, it's hard to ignore what's going on the track. But then as soon as the running event happens, you're like, oh, wait, Mondo's vaulting. Oh, let me go check that out. And especially if you're in person, your eyes are going back and forth like you're watching a tennis rally, like switching between this thing and that thing. And it's cool because you see these random bits of awesomeness, but you very rarely, unless you're zeroed in on that, unless you're very focused on it, or unless you're watching at home one of those dedicated feeds, you're rarely watching the entire competition start to finish with all the context that's involved in it. And I think that is something that makes it so much more enjoyable is watching it from beginning to end because you can quickly turn over and be like, whoa, Krauser just chucked the world record. But then, all right, well, what else happened? Like, I don't know, but Krauser just did the world record. That's pretty awesome because you're not really watching it. Whereas running events, you're getting it all at once. It happens in in tandem with each other, so you're able to actually see the entire event. So it's something that's unique about field events, something that they're trying to fix here. I mean, do you like the fact that they're at least attempting it? Do you see any hiccups potentially to this?
You're gonna go live and watch 3 fouls. That was entertaining. I just saw 3 people foul in the final round, and
That's true.
we
That's true.
it's like okay, whoa. And I mean, in order to make it fun, you have to actually watch the whole thing. I mean, I have a lot of ideas that you could do. Like, let first of all, what about putting a line in the sand and treating the long jump and the triple jump like the way you treat high jump and pole vault, or and same thing with shot put. So you got to throw it or jump over this line, and then you move on to the next round. And the line gets farther and farther away. Last one to survive wins, similar to high
Mhm.
jump and pole vault. Another idea: what if you did it? Hey, you get 6 jumps and you're allowed 2 fouls, and we add up your 4 jumps, and the longest distance total wins. So basically, it rewards people who are consistent, not just have 1 jump and then 5 fouls. You got to have 4 good jumps. And so it's basically you keep on who
Mhm.
can this combined. That's an idea. And then my favorite idea, which I just thought of, would be I want 8 runways next to each
Mm,
other. And I
yep,
want all 8 long jumpers to long jump at the same time.
gotcha.
And then you can visually see who went the furthest, like
Yeah.
a 100-meter dash. You have the long jump event. They all get 1 jump. We're lining up. They're ready to go. We see it, and then we see who was the furthest, and then they're a winner.
I like that each one of those ideas was unique and each one was uniquely bad in its own different way. Like
Oh,
that
come
that
on.
was impressive because you picked one where there's logistically no possible chance of it happening due to space. You picked one that would make it take forever, which they're trying to get away from. And then you picked one where you add up the total marks so to create some huge number that has no context at all. How far did you throw the shot today? Oh, I threw it 140.7 combined meters.
Yeah, I mean, why are we doing? I mean, what's the whole point of having 6 attempts? Is because they realize that you need 6
Yeah.
tries to get to your best, right? But like, hey, what? But then that opens up a comp like potential of 5/6 of your event being
Right,
boring
right.
because people are just throwing short or jumping short or fouling, right? So make them say, hey, no more. You can't foul no more. You got to be good for 4 out of 6. And take forever. No, it would if you put a line in the sand or a line out in the field for a javelin or shot put, it would be this take this pole vault and high jump.
Well, I know, but the whole point, the only way this works is because you have definitive time windows to do the final 3 because you just get 6 attempts. And if you go to the high jump or pole vault method, things are going to be going on for a very long time, or at least it's unpredictable. It's unpredictable when it would end. Um, Tampa Eagle says Gordon is insane, and that's a member of your group there. That's the first member of Gordon's Goons. Anthony says, "Can you explain the other changes they made?" That's pretty much it. So basically, um, the leader is going to go first. That's the other different thing. Usually, the leader goes last, so they're going to put the leader first, and only the top 3 get that final attempt, but everybody else gets 5. But the winning mark and the second best mark and the third best mark comes from anywhere in the competition. So yes, you're going to see probably those final 3 because it looks like they're going to stop everything else on the track, but the winning mark may not come from that. How about the best person going first instead of last? Do you like that or not like that?
I mean, I understand the point of it because you don't want the person to be able to do a
To pass.
swan song jump at the end or a pass at the end, right? You want them to
Mhm.
have to try to win and argue like, oh, you want to give the competitive advantage to the person who's in the lead. Well, so I don't know. Would you purposely not jump as far so you can go last? Probably
No,
not, right?
no.
You'd still
Be
just
pretty
jump as far
difficult to
as you
pull
can.
off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 You wouldn't try to sandbag. So
You'll still see people scratch jumps because they'll be or throws because they'll be so confident in themselves that they'll still pass. But yeah, you're trying to squeeze out that one last throw from them, or just increase it by 1. So I like it. Yeah, it's weird because you're putting yourself almost at a disadvantage, but I'm not an athlete. I'm looking at this from the perspective of a spectator. I like it. I've seen way too many passes or intentional fouls in the last mark. I want to see it happen. Anthony says, "Can of course Gordon is insane. Can you imagine Gordon putting on an event? It would be chaos. I would go to that event though. As much as I criticize Gordon's events, I would go to the first ever Gordon's Goons track meet because it would be completely unpredictable and make no sense at all. There would be scores. It would be like the scores in Space Jam, when you get bonus points, and the Goon Squad is up 1,200 to 75 at halftime. That's how it would be, and no one would know what's going on. But I would go to your track meet, Gordon, if you had one.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it.
All right, let's move on. Pete Julian's group. They got a name, Union Athletic Club. It's been a while. You know, the Nike Organ Project was disbanded a while ago, and we kept thinking, hey, when are we going to see this new team name? They came out with the logo a little while ago. I remember last year or earlier this year in February, March, whenever that meet in Austin was, I asked Pete Julian about it. Hey, do you have a team name? Is it going to be called Pete's Dragons? Is it going to be called Phil's Knights? What's it going to be called? He said they were close to coming up with something, but didn't know. And now finally we have it, and it's Union Athletics Club. Union Athletics Club. We went through the era of everything being called Project for a while. Remember that? Everything that cropped up was Project. Now everything, I guess, is going to be Athletic Club. What do you think?
I don't like it when American-based groups use the phrase athletics. You stop trying to act like you're European. Like that's what they're doing. They're like, oh, athletic. Like we don't call it athletics. No one in the NCAA, no one in high school doesn't call it athletics. It's in America. Now, I get it. They are more of an international group, right? They do have
Mhm.
some Australians on their team. So I can see it from that perspective. Like, hey, in Australia, we call it athletics. We don't call it track and field. But I feel like using the word athletics is a way to kind of have this like vibe of like this, you know, like
It's
I'm not sure what the
soccery.
word is.
It's
Yeah,
soccery.
soccery. Yeah, it's soccery and just I don't know. It's like it's a track club, guys. That's what it is. You're running track.
Okay,
You're not
so
playing
if
athletics.
it
There's no triple jumper in Pete's group. There's no rower in Pete's group. They're all middle distance runners. So
Mhm.
it's a track club.
The other I'm thinking of older, like the New York Athletic Club, right? That was like like they do other sports too. So that to
Yeah.
me made sense of, oh yeah, this is just an all-encompassing umbrella term. But if it's just a group that does track and field and mid distance and distance specifically, it does sound off. Would you have, if it was Union Track Club, would you have liked that?
No, I wouldn't like the word union. I'm just trying
Yeah.
to I'm being a dick right now. I'm trying to be an asshole. I'm trying to poke holes at it. It's a fine name. It's great. We'll learn to love it. It's gonna be Donovan Brazier wearing it, winning multiple medals, representing Union Athletics Club, and it's gonna be fine. I mean, it's just a name at the end of the day. I don't flip out that it's a Bowerman Track Club instead of the Phil Knight Track Club, like whatever. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I'm just for the sake of conversation, nitpick
Here,
the word. So
here's the thing. It's very down the middle. Like I don't think it's very polarizing, except for you. But that's the name that you come up with if you're waiting a month or two. The problem is when you build the suspense after about a year of this to come up with something that plain is disappointing. I was hoping, and you saw the logo looked pretty cool with the torch in it. I thought we'd see something different. I thought we'd see
what
something a little bit more ambitious. And instead, you know, you get the athletics club framing, which I don't have as much problem with you do as you do with athletics versus track and field. I think though the athletics club framing is just sort of worn out at this point. It's played out a bit at this point. And also it's not an athletics club. Like there's no club like can you join? Can I join? Like it's not and it's only a
yeah,
few people. It's not even a, you know, see the thing with Bowerman Track Club, they have a youth group, they have a sub elite group. It kind of works because they have um this whole structure in place and they have a lot of participants and the kids wear the jerseys and stuff. This I don't know if they're going to turn it into that. If they do, then I change my mind. But it just yeah, this is a 1 month name. This isn't a, "Hey, we've been in trying to figure this out for a year" name.
why did they choose the word union? Is that like represented something? I
Made me
guess
think of the
it.
Philadelphia Union, your favorite MLS team. That's what it made me think
Yeah.
of. I don't know.
I mean, well, if they would have just went like wild and like verge away from like
Well, remember our idea?
typical track words and just be like The way like everyone was like, "You're gonna call your team name the Pelicans?" And you're like, "Yeah." Now everyone likes the New Orleans Pelicans. It's like, yeah, it
Do you
works.
remember our idea though, like 6 months
What was
ago
our
for this?
idea? What was
Yeah,
our
just to name it
idea?
that,
I
just to
forget.
be the Lions.
The Lions. Okay, yeah.
Just that, and then we thought that they should get, and they should have sponsorship from a local Beaverton pizza company on their jerseys.
Yes,
That was our
yes.
idea. Could to go full little league to get back to their roots, where you have a very generic animal name and then a local
Yeah,
sponsor. And if you don't want to do the local sponsor because you already have Nike as your sponsor, yeah, just hey, what are you guys? Oh, we're the Ocelots.
yeah. We're the Blue
Representing the
Lions.
Ocelots in lane 6, Jessica
Yeah.
Hull.
I mean, we're probably gonna clip this, right, as an old segment. I don't want, Pete, Donovan, and all these people to think that I'm being mean, because I don't want to be mean. It's a fine name. It's a great name. Again, I'm just criticizing it for the sake of conversation. It's gonna be fine. Are we gonna call them the UAC? Is that
You.
like UAC? Are they gonna have like
By the
a?
way,
Because you have like
Travis is gonna
NOP.
cut the clip right before you apologize for what you said in the clip. So
Oh, I know, I
don't
know.
don't apologize for a name being bad. Of all the things you say, like that's the where you're gonna get soft on us, Gordon. Is
Well,
you don't
be
if you don't like
nice.
the name, you don't like the name. You're right. After a couple weeks, it will become commonplace.
It's the name.
The problem
Yeah.
is Bowerman Track Club is a good name. That is a really good name. It is historical, right? It's a fun name to say. It's a name that has gravitas to it. And then BTC is solid. The colors are good. So it's tough competition. Now, when they were Nike Oregon Project, they were one of the first groups that had the whole project thing attached to it. That and the skull, people really got into that level of branding too. But then once you lose that name, and then you're like, all right, what's our next idea? It's tricky. So I don't think it's going to impact him on the track though. And yeah, I guess you say UAC. My guess, we don't even say it that much. I think we are going to say for a while Pete Julian's group, or being coached by Pete Julian. I think that's what we're going to say. It
No, we're gonna
also,
start saying it. We don't
when
say
you
it.
watch
I
the
guess.
video though, it's crazy how much this group has changed. Travis, can you pull the video up again? Travis is still there. Like, you recognize Brazier, right? But then you see the women's group, and it's Ella Donahue, it's Shannon Osika, it's Jessica
Yeah.
Hull, who's been there for a couple years, but not the people that you recognize. It's Charlie Hunter. Like, not seeing, and Raven Rogers too, but like not seeing some of the mainstays that we associate with that group.
Berries, Hase. Yeah.
Yeah, Craig
Times
Engels.
are changing, man. Times are
Yeah,
changing.
it was interesting. In any event, any last thoughts on UAC? Do you want to apologize again?
I apologize again. Again, I wish the clip would include these apologies, but it's not. I'm gonna
He's not even here
be at
anymore. He
USN.
left.
Pete's gonna like tap me on the shoulder and be like, "Hey, man, that wasn't cool." And I'm like, I'm trying to apologize ahead of time. So we'll
When are you
see.
going to see him? You going to see him in Belgrade? When are you going to see
Maybe
Pete
I'll see him in
Julian?
Belgrade. I'll see him in Belgrade. Am I going to Belgrade? Is that happening?
No, you're not going to Belgrade. It's a bit.
Oh, okay.
I think Pete would understand, and I think all those people would be okay with you giving your honest opinion. I mean, my
Okay.
opinion here. You want my opinion? Straight up is, okay, it's
Cool.
fine. It's
It's
not
fine.
great. It's not great. It's not horrible. It's not outside the box. It's not particularly innovative in any way, shape, or form. But you needed a name, and you got a name, and there you go. That's what we have. But we talked about it, so they succeeded there, and I think it won't be a big talking point moving forward. But again, I think the name BTC, I think, is still my favorite club name out there until somebody just names their team an animal name, and that's it. You want to go to some best ofs?
Yeah. I'm doing one. Hold on. Last
What are you
thing
doing here?
before we move.
Oh, Tampa
Trying to
Eagle wants to know, is
see.
Donovan Brazier healthy? Well, he looked healthy in that video. He's ripping around the track there, so he looks healthy. I don't know though. I'm not sure. Let's watch the video one more time while we wait for Gordon. Is that
It's
Brazier?
fine.
Yeah,
I was
and
trying.
that looks fairly new too. I mean, I guess there's no way of knowing. They could have pulled stock footage, but I'm guessing they shot. Oh, yeah, there he is. Was that him running with the women? Go back. Go back. Hold on. Let's go and do a deep dive here.
I think he's fine.
No, no, hold on,
He's
hold
fine.
on. I want to see. Is he running though with the women's group there that includes the new people? Because then we know it's from this year. This clip coming up right. Okay, he's not running with Charlie Hunter. Right. Wait for it. Wait for it. Where they finish this rep. He there. Is that his arm?
Is that his arm? All right,
He
stop.
was wearing it. He was wearing an orange shirt before. Is that his
Stop.
arm? We don't know. Okay, full
We don't
investigation.
know.
Because
Let's
Osika
recap.
and right there, the arm, the arm. Hold on. So he's red. Go to the front now, Cole. Go to the beginning of the video. Was he wearing red? Not that you or orange. Oh no, he's. Oh no. That's him. That's him. Hold on. He's wearing blue right there. Go forward. That there. Go back. Go back.
That's not him.
That's him. Oh, see, Cole. That's the wrong spot of the video.
I don't know. This is the.
I think that's
the
him right
worst,
there. You
This is
don't
the
think that's
worst
him?
audio podcast ever.
I think it's great. The people in YouTube. Let's freeze it and enhance. Right there.
That's not him.
That's not him. Okay.
No, that's like that's not Donovan.
Forward, Colt. Forward, right. Keep going. There. Oh,
That's
you're right.
not him.
That's not him.
That
Okay,
is
go
not
back.
Donovan Brazier.
Then go back. Go back. There's someone in an orange jersey. Go back farther. Where's the first one? Was he wearing orange? Oh, yeah.
We don't know. We'll
We don't
never know.
Oh, there's wearing blue.
We should
I
just
don't know.
text him and ask, "Hey, man,
Is he
you healthy?"
Yeah,
And
actually.
that'll be an easier way.
Oh, he's wearing
than
orange
watching.
shorts, not orange. Yeah, see, I don't know. Very inconclusive at this point whether or not Donovan is healthy. Do you have his number? Text him. I just wanted to try to help. We had a member ask, "Is he healthy?" He's a member of this podcast community. I wanted to try to figure out if he was.
We'll
Let's move
figure it
on.
out eventually. Let's recap 2021.
Yeah, here we go. So today I wanted to talk about best race, biggest surprise, biggest breakthrough, and best rivalry. Which category would you like to begin with?
Top.
Yeah, about five. We need like 5 minutes on each. How about that?
Yeah. You go first in every one, and then I'll give you mine.
Okay. I'll start with best race. I picked men's 400-meter hurdles at the Olympics. It obviously had the build up there. It had the historic nature where you have not just Warholm, but you have Warholm and Benjamin, and also Dos Santos dropping down and running a historical mark 45.94, 46.17, 46.72. It was amazing. The women's 400-meter hurdles at the meet, same competition, was also incredible. This one I give just a little bit of an edge to. Warholm obviously brings incredible excitement. I thought Benjamin might have him, but this race, several years in the making, and just seeing the sub 46 on the clock. I mean, he broke the world record earlier in the year, but we knew, hey, he's going to have to do it again this year. And we talked about the ingredients for an all-time race, right? It needs to have stakes, it needs to have an all-time mark, and it needs to be competitive. And this one had all that, right? It had the supporting cast there as well, too. It had the co-star in Benjamin. So for me, men's 400-meter hurdles at the Olympics was my race of the year.
Yeah, that race was special. I would argue that race would be like if in 2012, when David Rudisha ran 140 and broke the world record in the Olympic final. Imagine if David Rudisha ran 139 in that race.
And Nigel Amos ran under the old world record and was right there with 20 meters to go. Yeah.
That's what would have had to happen in that. I'd look at that race as an all-time race. That's what needed to happen in that race for it to compare to what we saw in the 400 hurdles. Because when you see 45 on a clock, you're like, hey, no, that's not a hurdle time. You're not supposed to do that. Like, we just mentally tell ourselves there are certain areas that you're not supposed to approach. And the fact that he did it in just the build-up, right, with Rye Benjamin. Yeah, I'd agree. That was a good race.
Yeah,
but I will one-up you.
You're going to one-up me? Well, one more thing on this before you one-up me. Even Rudisha, okay, you could say breaking 141, historic, right? And even though that doesn't have the round number value of going into the 1.3s, it still was crazy. But there was no doubt in that race who was going to win. And with the 400-meter hurdles, there was a little bit of doubt. And you could say in retrospect, well, why would you ever think Benjamin could win. Like Warholm's been so good, and he beat him in Doha. But come on, it was close. It was a very, very close race, and there was some drama versus Rudisha, where he goes to the front from the gun, and you knew he was going to win. It was just a matter of how fast. That also that that was obviously a great race, an all time race as well too. But this was better. This was definitely better. Okay, I'm waiting for you to one up me. What's your best race?
My best race was a race that happened in the great state of Utah back in April. It was a low key 4x200 meter relay until out of the blue, a dog appeared and ran the final leg in dramatic fashion, the ultimate kick, and took the win over whatever team was in lane 3. Getter kind of was a little bit of like cocky in it, showed off,
Mhm.
was like Usain Bolt level of like celebrating before the finish line. And the entire time was just a good boy. The entire time, there's was 12 out of 10 for that dog, and that was my favorite race of 2021. I mean,
Was this
Warholm
2021?
world records are cool and all, but have you seen this puppy? Look at this. Look at slow mo. Look at that lead that she had. That
Yeah.
dog was going stride for stride. Boom, take her down in the four by
Look at the
two. So
look at the form here. Also, I mean, good job by this runner because the dog cuts her off right at the end, and she stays in her lane and doesn't step on the dog either. That was pretty
yeah, it
good for her.
was pretty good.
I can't believe that was this year.
That was this year, man. 2021
It's been a
April.
wild ride. It's been a wild ride. Okay, so I go with a historic race. You go with a dog race. That's fine.
It was
Let's go
historic.
to biggest surprise. Biggest surprise. I went with an event, and you can talk about okay, Donovan Brazier didn't make the Olympic team. That was a surprise. You could talk about Elaine Thompson running 10:54. That was a surprise. But I went with the men's 100 as a whole. The reason I did is there were surprises all along the way. There were surprises at the U.S. trials. There were surprises uh, at the Olympics. There were surprises post Olympics. There was a surprise in the lead up to the Olympics. So we had just multiple different versions of this event. And I want to take us back, Gordon, to a debate that we had at the beginning of the outdoor season. And it was, is Lyles or Bromell the favorite for 100-meter gold? And neither of those guys made the final. Neither of those guys made the final. Only one guy even made the team. So you start off first with Lyles struggling in the 100. That was a surprise. But then you have the emergence of Fred Curley early on in the season. You have Bromell running phenomenally. And it looks like, hey, U.S. could sweep this thing. You go to trials. You get a solid team for the U.S. with Bromell, with Baker, with Curley. Then you have the actual event. Bromell doesn't look like himself in Tokyo, doesn't make the final. All these people run crazy fast in the semis. And then it's Lamont Marcel Jacobs of Italy, someone who most people had not heard of, especially in the context of the 100, winning gold. Italy goes on and wins the 4x1, also surprising, which if you want to extend the 100 to the 4x1. Then post Olympics, Lamont Jacobs doesn't run at all. And then you have Trayvon Bromell going and then getting a PR at the end of the season. And Fred Curley running exceptionally well. And DeGrasse doing what DeGrasse is doing. But just for the trajectory of all those things, or trajectory of all those athletes, some of them up, some of them trending down, all happening at random times, it was a surprising event. If I gave you that top 3 for the Olympics, you would have said that's crazy. You would have guessed DeGrasse, but there's no way you would have said Jacobs for gold or Fred Curley um, for a medal either. So
Yeah, I mean, you have Coleman out, Bromell back in, Noah Lyles back out. Then you have Fred Curley back in, and then you have uh,
Curley
Baker
silver,
out.
DeGrasse bronze. Sorry,
Yeah,
I
so
mixed that
it's
up.
like
Sorry.
you just had all these big names surprisingly enter, surprisingly exit.
Yeah.
You're like,
Yep.
why is Fred Curley in here? Why is Coleman out? It's just all these different things.
Oh,
I
I
mean,
didn't
we
talk
know
about
why.
Coleman.
Yeah, we know why all these things happen. Right? Curley's a hell of an athlete, and
Mhm.
Coleman went to get a burrito during the Giants Eagles Monday Night Football game, and
Yeah.
I think maybe he was basically the first domino. I feel like him going to get that burrito and not
Yeah.
being back in time for that test in December was what triggered the craziest event of the year, which
The
is
canary in the coal
2 year.
mine.
Yeah. And I think it's only going to get crazier, right? Because none of these people like are aging out, right? I mean,
Yeah.
they're all still in their prime, and you're going to throw in a Coleman, and you're going to throw in healthier athletes, right? So you have
Yeah.
to think that this isn't the last of this craziness. I feel like it's going to get even more crazy.
Well, on the US side, though, it looks like you have that. We talked about that solid group. Remember, we named that 8 when we were talking with Marvin Bracy. We had him in the pod because you're thinking Coleman's going to be back, Bromell, Curley, Baker, Bednarik, Bracy, Michael Williams, real young. I mean, he's got a bright future. I'm probably forgetting someone on the US side. I don't know if I even named everybody. And then you throw in the international runners, like you want to see what Jacobs has. Obviously, DeGrasse is consistent, and now he's got the individual gold from the 200. But yeah, every step of the way was unbelievable. I like the way you described that. Have people entered and exited at like the most inopportune times. It was like an improv skit, like run amok. Basically, it's just like people go. I'm here now. I'm out. Like you can trust me. Now I'm gone. Like if you took all of our conclusions and all of our opinions that we had on the podcast and made like a supercut of the 100, it would be all over the place by the time you got to the end of the season.
Like,
The
imagine
amount of
this.
people
If
we were confident in is like totally wrong by the end.
Imagine going up to someone on the street to talk about track, and you're going to be shocked that Trayvon Bomel doesn't make the Olympic final. And you'll be
Yeah.
like, I'm going to be shocked. The guy ran 10.5 this year. He's done. His
Yeah.
career's
Yeah.
over,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? I'm not going to be shocked that this guy who hasn't run fast in 2 years is going to not make the final. But lo and behold, we were shocked because he went on to have incredible 2020 and 2021, and then we were shocked that he didn't make it. So it's like shocked that he's there, shocked that he's not. Shocked. It's just all this craziness. So,
Yeah. Um, Someone asked in the chat, would you rather have it like this or have one person dominate again?
oh, I like this better. I don't like one dominating. Yeah, it's fun. It's fun to that there's any given day it's gonna be a different. It's like watching a football game, right?
Hmm.
Any given day, they say any given Sunday,
Yeah.
your team can win, and that there's not like a dominant team because it's hard to have that type of. I like parity, especially in track, because when it's the same winner. I mean, it's fun when there's no parity, when that person who's winning is like chasing records. That's cool because then you're like, oh, all
Yeah.
right, record attempt, record attempt. But when there's not a record attempt and it's someone just dominating, it's not as entertaining. You want to see people lose, come back, win again, and then you're like, oh, you got it wrong this time, right? Perfect for
Yeah.
betting too.
On that same note, though, when there's parity, but the people aren't like they don't have the compelling stories like we did in the 100, it's also not that fun. I think in the men's 800 this year,
True. Men's
which
eight, yeah.
was a very forgettable year for the men's 800 across the board. And it wasn't just because Brazier was hurt; it was just because no one really rose to the occasion, and there were a
Yeah.
lot of not that fast times. The races weren't that interesting, and you did have a fair bit of parity. And we could look at the Diamond League winners, but there's something special about the 100-meter group right now that's interesting. I think a lot of it is because the the background of everybody's career, like Curly going from the 400 to the 100, Bromell resurrecting his career, Kenny Bednarik, like a JUCO guy who was looking like a 2-4 guy. Now he's in the 100. You're looking at Gatlin. Hey, like how long is he gonna last? Bracy, is he gonna be able to? I'm talking about for 2022. Like, is he gonna be able to run that 9.8 at the right time? All those guys, and then you go international, and it's even better. Coleman, like coming back from the suspension. It goes Lyles with the double, and can he get the 100 right? There's just something with every single athlete. I think the perfect scenario is what you had in the women's 100, which was there's some intrigue about who will win, and they're also running all-time marks, and there's also a
Yeah.
rivalry attached. That's the peak level of interest for me, or even like the Formula hurdles. Problem is the Formula hurdles they didn't run that much, but there was general McLaughlin or Muhammad, Warholm or Benjamin. You generally didn't know, but you knew whatever it was going to be amazing. That's the perfect scenario, just for my taste. But I know that that's rare. So yeah, given those two, I would opt for what we have right now. I think it's just an exciting era.
So my biggest surprise of 2021 was a race in May of 2021, the West Coast relays. We had an
Jeez.
incredible early session where the men's 10K. We saw the NAU guys run fast times, qualify for the Olympic trials with those marks. Nico Young like rabbited 8K of a 10K. Who that's good. You know you're a good teammate when you're willing to rabbit 8,000 meters of a 10K. Um, so we had a great morning session because of the heat. But then at night, power went out, and it was a lights out race where they had to line the race with people with their cell phones so they could see around the track. And it was pretty wild. I mean, who would have thought that you would have uh, a race being basically only visible because of people with cell phones on the track? So you can see, I right now the lights are on, but the lights go out at one point. I think we'll see.
Are you only picking races for best of that were featured on FloTrack or MouseSplit? Is that your strategy?
Oh no! So the reason why you see lights right now is because of cars. So we're looking at this track because people got their cars and turn on their car lights to light up the track. I don't know. I think it's just kind of cool. See people with their phone. I think it's kind of cool where this is like an elite NCAA. They're trying to get fast times to qualify, and they know this is their last chance because in a few weeks there's conferences. This is going to be slow races, and they knew that they had to get the race in, and they figured out, all right, we're doing it. We're gonna turn on the car lights. We're gonna put out the flashlights, and they ran fast times. Like these BYU guys, they went quick. So that was my biggest surprise was a track meet with no lights.
Tremendous. I can't top that. Before I move on, all in the game asks, do you see Knighton as a 1-2 or 2-4 guy?
Two, 1-2.
Just for
I think.
perspective, he's run 10-1-6 in the 100, and he's run 47-48 in the 400. But that 47-48 was from 2019 when he was 15 years old. But yeah, 400 is really hard. It's like it's hard when you're adding a second event. You don't want to be like, hey, I'm gonna pick an event where it's even more difficult um, to compete in and to train. So I see him more as a 1-2 guy going forward. If you're drawing the comparison to Lyles, that comparison makes even more sense because Lyles established himself for the two and then came back and then started clicking off some good hundreds. I mean, he's tall. Aaron Knighton's a tall guy. So a little boltish just in terms of size. Not going to extend the comparison any farther than that, other than he has taken down some of his records. But I say 1-2. I just say 1-2 because it less less of a training load. Um, I want to see more 2-4 runners. We just don't see a ton of 2-4 runners, and I think it's part of the reason is because once you get that taste of the short sprints, it's like that's a long way to go.
Yep. All right. Biggest breakthrough of 2021, Kevin. Who was your biggest breakthrough?
All right, and you can define breakthroughs a lot of different ways because you can say, hey, this person wasn't even on our radar and then they made a team, or this person wasn't even a favorite for a medal and then they got bronze. But the way I chose to define it was just somebody who just made a leap up in tiers. And if you go back to the last time we had global championships before 2021, go back to 2019, this person made the US final but didn't make the team and had a very promising future. And then they went from that to completely dominating the Olympic final. And I know there was that 2020 year in between, which we didn't see, but I'm talking about a Thingmo. I think a Thingmo biggest breakthrough because now, as I mentioned, it's not, hey, can anybody beat her? It's how fast can she run? Will she break the world record? Can she do the 4.8 double? she skipped over that whole step of struggling to get a medal and went to, okay, what can I do to challenge myself beyond getting a gold medal? So just the distance she traveled between those 2 years, if you think about it, is amazing and sort of baffling to think about. So I went with Mo.
This should be a stat to look up. I'm not sure what if this stat exists anywhere. But how many people have won a global gold medal in their first senior global outdoor championship? Like, typically, when
Mm,
you go to your first
yeah.
Worlds or your first Olympics, it's like a learning experience, right? And then you come back stronger than the next one or for the Olympics. And then that's when you actually compete, like at the higher level. But for her to do it, like as a rookie, it's just like incredible. I mean,
Mhm.
I don't know. I don't know my history that well, but I feel like it doesn't happen that often. Where first time at the world championship stage they win gold. Like that doesn't happen that often, right? Can you think of anyone off the top of your head who
I
won
can't.
gold their first global championship?
I'm sure there's. So are you counting indoors and outdoors?
No, just outdoor championship.
So world championships or Olympics? I don't know, man.
Yeah,
Statman John, Ken Nakamura, if you're listening, that's a good stat to look up. And maybe someone
but
said it at the time, but that's yeah, you're right.
yeah,
That's pretty preposterous. Because you think about the people who were really good when they were young, like Felix, but she wasn't stepping in and getting gold.
yeah,
And for Thing Mo, it's not just, or even Sydney McLaughlin. It's not just the gold, it's
yeah.
just the complete and utter dominance of everybody else. And the fact that, hey, she's also good in the 400 too. So we could be looking at something we've only seen, twice achieved in history by one man and one woman ever with a 400 and 800 double later on. It's crazy.
So my breakthrough athlete is Christine Mboma. I remember watching her run the 400, and everyone's like, "Holy shit, she's ran 48 seconds." Watch out, Shawnee Miller Weibo. You may want to run the 200 because she's going to dominate the 400. Then World Athletics is like, "Not so fast. We don't want you in sport. You got to do something different." And she's like, "All right, I will. I'll run the 200 and I'll run incredible. And I will challenge one of the greatest that's ever done it in Elaine Thompson Hurrah. And probably the best second place finish you can have in any of the championships, I would argue, especially for what she had to do at the last minute change events. I mean, you think about like when we're in high school and you're preparing to run the 2 mile, and then coach says you have to run the 4x4. You're like, what? Oh, what's going on? And you can't handle that big change. She did this at the global level. It's like you're preparing your body for a quarter mile, and then all of a sudden it's like, no, you got to learn how to get a start down. And she has a horrible start because she never practiced it, right? And so I think the biggest breakthrough for me was Christina Boma's onto the stage in the 400, then ultimately, you know, adjusting and running well in the 200, and kind of taking the sport. What's the world by storm? Is that the phrase?
Mm-hmm.
Taking the world by storm. She took the world by storm, and I'm a big fan. I'm also a big fan of people in her situation who find ways to say "screw you" to world. You can't stop me from competing in these events. Yeah, you think I'm going to suck at the 200? Not so fast. I'm going to run the fast 200. So
If you look at the, I don't want to get too far into like previewing 2022 because this is a 2021 recap, but there's just some big stories in all of these women's sprint events next year. I mean, going through a thing Mo too, like going all the way up to 800, right? Like, there's no way the 100 is not interesting next year. There's no way the 200 is not interesting for the reasons you just mentioned. The 400 will be, I guess, because if Shawnee Miller Weibo is just dominant, then all right. But and then you got Mo in the 800 chasing history. I guess sprints on both sides, men's and women's, 400 hurdles, everything.
yeah,
What I'm saying, Gordon, is I'm excited about track and field in 2022. All right,
there you go. I'm
I'm
excited
excited
too,
about it.
man. We only got
All right,
what 14 more days left of 2021.
yeah,
Two
let's
weeks
just fast forward.
left. We can get into 2022.
Can we just skip
So
skip that? We lost the recording of this first show. Can we just lose the recording of 2021 and just move to 2022? Best rivalry. Last one that we'll do today. Best rivalry. I picked Sha'Carri Richardson versus the Jamaican sprinters. Uh, Obviously, this was one of the public's favorite stories throughout the year. Sha'Carri was very confident, gave those post-race interviews, which got a lot of people excited and energized. And then when she was suspended, missed the or I remember, was it after Fraser Price ran the 10:63, Richardson tweeted basically "You're welcome" because I raised the game up. Then she misses the Olympics. So and then pre-classic became this huge deal just because it was Richardson's return, and we talked at the time about how rare it was that just a regular season track meet that was after the Olympics was garnering so much attention. She did the Nicki Minaj video about how she was back. Then she got beat. And then do you remember the post-race interview?
Yeah.
I saw it being
Wild.
memed. I saw it being memed the other day. And so I watched it. I was like, oh my gosh, that was really wild. And then obviously you have Fraser Price walking in the background, giving the look. Um, I don't think they ever said anything directly by name, did they? Did it? It never got to that level. Um, but it was just it was it was the main rivalry that I could think of throughout the year, and we'll see what happens in 2021. I mean, credit to Richardson, she never really backed down, and for the Jamaican women, they brought it. They both had the fastest seasons of their career.
So we're both American, right? We're American company, American podcast, but our sports international. We have a lot of people who are international fans, and they they're probably team Jamaica, right? Team uh, Elaine and Shelly Ann. Um, and I guess we de facto have to be team Shakari because we're American. She's USA. If you're like not associated,
That's not true. I'm not picking
not.
based on who's the country. I mean, what I don't.
I
I'm
mean,
just
you do.
I'm here for
Okay,
the
hold on,
I'm here
hold
for
on,
the
hold on.
races. I'm here
Hold
for the
on, you
races.
do cheer for America. Don't say that. You can't say when you watch a race at the Olympics, American running, you want that American to do well.
No, not necessarily.
Okay.
I cheer for
No,
takes, Gordon. I cheer for
no,
what
you would cheer
takes
for
are going to be the
America.
best.
It's
No, that's
okay.
not true. I don't. There's no cheering in the press box, Gordon. I'm right down the
We weren't in
middle.
the press box. We were in my
If in a
apartment
virtual
watching.
press, we watched the trials together. The trials.
Okay,
You're
no,
right. At the trials, I was rooting for the Americans at the trials.
okay,
You got
stop
me.
it. You know what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say is there's people who are going to just not identify, but like just go towards like a Caribbean
Yeah,
athlete, and there's going to be
sure.
people who are going to go towards an American athlete,
I'm not
right?
saying. Yeah,
If you
I'm saying
if
I'm not that person.
you're yeah, if you're from Iceland, you have no skin in the game, right?
Yeah,
Iceland or what's like another country that doesn't really have much track and field going on. I don't know. Would you rather be to jump on board of the dominance of the two Jamaican runners and be cheer on them chasing history,
yeah,
right? Because they're chasing the fastest of all time, or would you rather be on the ride of Shikari and be like, all right, she's not winning right now,
yeah,
but she's fun to be on that team. She may or may not, she may crash and burn, but I'll go down swinging. Like, if you're
yeah.
third party there, what rivalry would you want to be on the side of?
That's true. I mean, that's a good question. So, if you're from Iceland right now, chime in the comments or email flotrackpodcast@gmail.com. Let Gordon know what side you're on. I do want to clarify because someone in the chat brought up, hey, it wasn't a rivalry in terms of competition. And that's right, because they ran a lot faster. They got the medals.
Yeah,
What I mean by rivalry more is just the clear desire to beat one another. And you can say,
yeah.
oh, Kevin, that's track and field. Everybody in track and field wants to be the other person. Yes, but it's not as vocal. It's not as visible. It's not as apparent all the time because track is very nice. So that's what I mean by rivalry. If I'm picking just, hey, rivalry in terms of, back and forth or competition or historic performances, yeah, you're going to look at Warholm and Benjamin. You're going to look at McLaughlin and Muhammad. And those are rivalries in a different sense. This, I just meant it took on a level of just pure desire to beat one another because it transcended just that race. There were so many people invested in the outcome outside of the people participating, more so than any other event in track this year. Even the DK Metcalf 100, which had people going, definitely had people going there. Where was football people versus track people? People are interested in that outcome as well. But Richardson and the Jamaicans was where it was at in terms of the rivalry, the way I'm defining it.
So my best rivalry, I can't say that word, like rivalry of 2021 was Team USA's men's 4x1 versus practicing,
Mm,
because
yes.
it was something that was very controversial, because Team USA's 4x1, they don't want to practice. They don't want to figure this out. They just want to show up the day before, jog around the track, and then say our talent will win out. Well, it's not been working for the past 20 years, and continues to not work. And so forever, we will have, will the USA men's 4x1 actually practice? It's a rivalry that's been going on for 20 years. It's been going on before your children were even alive, Kevin.
Mm-hmm.
We've just never had a Team USA men's 4x1 that wanted to practice. And I don't think we ever will. Even in 2022, I don't think they're going to practice. No
Well, I
one's ever
think
going to
they
practice.
want.
We're never going to
Well,
practice a 4x1.
it's the Allen Iverson situation. Listen, I think they want to practice, and from what I've heard, all
They don't.
secondhand, third hand. Well, no, the structure is not in place for them to practice. I don't think they're completely
Yeah.
anti-practice. I just think you have a situation where multiple people are in charge, which means nobody's in charge. Multiple people have an agenda, which means there's no team agenda for what's going on. So the irony of this is when you drop the baton in the Usain Bolt, Johan Blake, Asafa Powell era, it didn't really matter. You were running for silver anyway. They didn't
Yeah.
have the horses. Now they do. Now they do. And you just look at the best times of the year and you look at the list going in, and it should be a walkover in the same way that the Jamaicans dominated before with their team. Less so because you don't have a 9.58 guy out there, but the depth should be overwhelming. So now is when they need to rack up the medals before another country catches up in terms of putting together four guys who can go sub 10, sub 995, right? They have this advantage that they're all faster. You need to take advantage of that now by getting this technical component out of the way because you actually have room for error now. You're not going to if Jamaica has another resurgence or another country is able to pull together that many guys who can run that fast. But I think you're right. I think you're right. This is one to watch in 2022 again.
Yeah.
This is the age old battle.
As much as you're speaking sense right now, this rivalry is very strong. They've dug in their heels and they are lining in the sand. We will not practice. We will only do a walkthrough 24 hours before the event,
Yeah.
which is not how you. There's a, yeah. I mean, I honestly think we should just, I've said it before, like, you should select the 4x1 earlier. It should be like
Mhm.
known. It should not be like who's in the 4x1 based off how you do at Worlds. No, like in the World 100, like,
Team is a
you
team.
shouldn't. 4x1 should be known 6 months out, 4 months out, and then they have to practice once a month. Hell, twice a month.
I bring up the World Relays example from last year all the time because Italy ran three of the four guys that they ran at the Olympics in that World Relays competition. So they had an idea of who they were running. Maybe you say, hey, it's more obvious because they have less depth. Yeah, but that doesn't mean you can't pick a team. And I like the two ideas that we came up with was just select 4, 5, 6, 7 from trials. That's your Olympic 4x1 team. Sorry, it's just the way we're doing it. Or your idea, a month after trials or a couple weeks after trials, have relay tryouts. Everybody can show up. So if you are the number one runner, but then you're running it and you're signing something and you're putting your name out there that you're on the team, you're gonna run the prelim, you're gonna run the final. I don't all this stuff about the 200 was last night and then I had to come back. So it's the Olympics. Like, what are we saving ourselves? Sometimes I just wonder with this stuff. Like, I get load management during the season. I get not wanting to over race during the season. I get it in other sports. I get it in track and field, right? I get why Kevin Durant is going to sit the second night of a back to back maybe during the regular season. But you know what Kevin Durant does when the playoffs come around? He plays all 48 if he needs to because it's the playoffs. That's the whole point of everything you're doing. The
Yeah.
Olympics, even more rare, once every 4 years. So all this stuff about I had the 200 and then I came back in the 100. This is what it's all about. So if you're not going to do it, say at the beginning and then put somebody else on. And if you are going to do it, commit to it and see it all the way through.
Well said. This rivalry will go down in the history books, and it's going to continue in 2022.
Yeah.
So, anyway,
okay.
Like and subscribe, guys. Thanks for listening to our podcast and watching.
Yeah, we'll be back Monday. We'll do maybe some athlete of the year, although we always talk about the athlete of the year throughout the year. So I don't know how interesting that is, but we'll do another few categories. And if there's any news over the weekend, we'll, of course, discuss that. Thanks to Travis. Thanks to Colt for producing. Thanks to the select group of maybe 20, 30 people who got to hear the Open twice. I guess you're going down in history.
Hell yeah.
It's a rare group. Rare group. The few and the proud. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you guys on Monday.